Ever witnessed someone so fast on track you doubt you could ever be on their level? The mission of Advanced Motorsports is to demonstrate that speed is achievable for everyone. With the expertise of some of the best sim drivers in North America, we are set to release free content on social media and comprehensive guides on our website. For those seeking the ultimate experience, our Advanced Motorsport Institute and personalized coaching sessions are the way to go. No matter your level of experience, we invite you to follow us on our social media to learn to be fast.
With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
Everyone, welcome to RaceSpotTV once again for the PRL Formula D series. This is the penultimate round of 2024 Season 1 here in Australia. We're at the Mount Panorama circuit, my home race. I'm Reese Gardner. Dylan Coyle is with me in the comms box. We got Dustin Ollis behind the scenes, of course, on production, pushing all the buttons in the producer's chair, bringing you these live pictures. What a fun round this is going to be. FIA Formula 4 around one of the most difficult circuits in the Southern Hemisphere, potentially the world, Dylan. I'm looking forward to this. We appear to have lost Dylan Coyle for just a few moments, but tell you what, it's going to be super fun. We've got a 35-minute race coming up with mandatory pit stop for fuel, and once again, a small field of 13 cars, but should be plenty of action around such a difficult circuit. Let's take a look at how things stand in terms of where we are in the season. Mount Panorama, of course, the second last round of the championship, and we're going to be finishing off the season at the Nürburgring Grand Prix circuit next week. So if you're interested in catching that, pencil that date into your calendar right now. February 29th. Only comes once every 4 years. Nürburgring Grand Prix, potentially once every season. It's going to be fun, and we'll be able to officially crown our champion, Jake Vasconcelos, who has effectively already wrapped the season up at the moment. 337 points at the top of the standings. Errol Urexoy on 276 points behind him. It's a lot closer in the race for second. Clay Harris could potentially gain some time and some points on him. Arensberg versus Callahan. Well, Tristan Callahan, of course, obviously not racing in this series anymore, so his position is completely up for grabs. The likes of James O'Brien and Dave Peterson should be able to catch him up. Zach Yurt, meanwhile, he's doing pretty well in qualifying at the moment, so he could potentially improve on what is 10th in the standings. In terms of the Teams Championship, Vulture Motorsports is a long way ahead of YS Motorsports. Viking Hot Rods Racing under no competition at all for that second spot. So we're expecting at the very least the top three to remain the same coming out of this round. A private label Team Hype getting a podium or two over the course of this season. They'll be hoping to get a little bit more ahead of Yellow Jacket Racing, divided by Zero Motorsports under no pressure for 6th. So we're not expecting much in the way of Teams Championship changes, aside from maybe Parabola Racing and Race Indigo, but we will have to wait and see at the conclusion of these 35 minutes, which are brought to you by a brilliant roster of sponsors here at the Precision Racing League. Of course, Advanced Sim Racing, owned and operated by passionate sim racers. Advanced Sim Racing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminium profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. All Precision Racing League members also get a 5% discount on ASR products using the coupon code at checkout, Precision5. Go to advancedsimracing.com and check them out. We've also got Racebox Sim Racing on board for this league. Racebox offers mid and high-end button boxes for sim racing enthusiasts, from the casual gamer up to the most meticulous sim racing driver. Competitively priced and carefully handcrafted, their button boxes are an enjoyable addition to any sim racing setup. You can visit raceboxsimracing.com to check out their products, and you'll also get a 5% discount using the Precision5 coupon code. Butt Kicker products add incredible immersion and realism to every game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Check them out at thebuttkicker.com. Moradness is a performance lifestyle brand motivated by motorsport and founded by professional race car driver Daniel Morad on all the socials: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Also got a Discord. Also got an official website at moradness.com. Mr. Hedge iRacing Photography. Capture your finest, proudest, or simply worst moments from your hobby in up to 8K resolution. A great addition to any sim room. MrHedge.co.uk, Mr. Hedge Simtography on Facebook, Mr. Hedge _iRacing_photography on Instagram. And finally, Advanced Motorsports. Get ready to learn to be fast with Advanced Motorsports. Follow them on their socials to become a better driver. ADV Motorsports on Facebook. They're also on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and Threads. It's going to be a very fun night here at Mount Panorama, Dylan. And right now, as we are in qualifying, Jake Vasconcelos on top as expected.
Yeah, that's kind of what happens all the time when it comes to Formula D racing, at least with Jake Vasconcelos. 7 over the course of his career, but it just seems like every single race this year, he's just unstoppable, especially when he gets a free lap. I mean, he's trying to go 100% for poles over the course of this 9-race season 1 in 2024. Has swept the first 7 races on the pole. I mean, it looks like a lock here. Obviously, I might be trying to give the old commentator's curse.
Yeah, well, I mean, commentator's curse tends to be applied a little easier at Mount Panorama, doesn't it? Just because the track is so gosh darn difficult. He's in the simpler part of the circuit at the moment is Kevin McPherson, making his way down to Murray's Corner, the final turn. Both the first and last turns at this circuit look very simple on paper as McPherson goes up to second spot on a 209. So meanwhile, there's plenty of difficult corners up the top of the mountain, but every single turn here has something to offer in ways to put you off the track.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Bathurst Mount Panorama is just unbelievable. You come over Skyline and come down through the S's. This is a favorite of mine. Look at that, the dipper. You just kind of lose all control of that race car as it bottoms out underneath you, or the opposite of bottoms out. You have no telling of where that car is going to land once it does come back down to earth. And then this is, of course, the long straightaway that leads to another personal favorite of mine, and that's the chase. It's daring, especially in a sports car reaching speeds of over 180 miles per hour. And Reese, it's always fun to see a pass made coming down here.
Yep, you pick up the slipstream down Conrod Straight and then brake as late as you dare for this chicane that was added in 1987 as Austin Harris goes to pole position. That is a new, very quick time there from the number 13. Harris is looking very quick here tonight.
Yes, he is. And did the commentators curse? I don't know if it's a commentator's curse if you say it knowing that there's a potential for it to work. It looks like, yeah, Vasconcelos is not going to win the pole here tonight. Harris, provisional pole sitter.
That's incredible stuff there from the number 13 right in the dying seconds. Justin Delano, meanwhile, up into third spot, splitting the two YS Motorsport cars of Jake Vasconcelos and Kevin McPherson. So right at the checkered flag, that is incredible stuff. Let's see if Errol Urexoy can put in a faster time right now. He's struggling a bit for pace. He's about 7/10 off his practice time at the moment. Can he improve on 9th coming across the top of the mountain? We are in overtime at the moment. Drivers currently on a lap can finish it. He just has to nail the S's and the run down to the dipper, but there's a little bit of oversteer there and he runs wide on the way into the dipper. That's unfortunate. I think that lap is over then for Errol Urexoy, but he's still got to make up time on Conrod and through the chase.
Yeah, I mean, he's 9th, right? Oh, look at that. He went way too wide coming down Forest Elbow, and I think this is definitely a lap that's not going to mean that much, but hey, he does still have the potential to move up. Anything better than 9th, right, is a win in his books. I just don't know if, because of that error coming right before this long straightaway, it's going to compound and be even worse once this lap kind of comes to fruition. We'll see, though.
Yeah, indeed we will. He's not... well, actually, it looks like he's going to take the opportunity to practice a pit entry here. Pit entry at Mount Panorama is just as difficult as the rest of the circuit. You have to negotiate a double chicane on the way into the pits, and it's very easy to beach the car in the gravel trap. Justin Delano, meanwhile, let's see if he can improve on that third spot there. Delano crossed the line with just a few seconds to go, so he can complete this lap if he so desires. Got a driver following him as well, James O'Brien. Both of them are going to go for the pits. O'Brien finishing on the podium last round, so we will be seeing if he can improve on that. Well, no one else is on a lap at the moment, so I think it's an opportune time to see how everybody lines up coming into the 35-minute race with a pit stop for fuel. Austin Harris breaking the run for Jake Vasconcelos here. Pole position for the number 13. Vasconcelos starts alongside him on the front row with Justin Delano and Kevin McPherson 3rd and 4th. James O'Brien for private label team Hype. Another excellent top 5 qualifying performance. Dave Peterson doing very well for Viking Hot Rods Racing, rounding out the top 6. Sean Duhamel, his teammate, is going to line up in 7th alongside Zach Yurt, with Errol Urexoy and Donald Olson rounding out the top 10. CJ Conklin was the last driver to set a qualifying time, 2:11.9. 2 drivers did not set times in qualifying, David Hebert and Jason Arensberg. And Arensberg didn't set a time in practice either, so hopefully we get a full 13-car grid for this race, but otherwise still got 11 cars going to make their way around Mount Panorama here, Dylan. This is a round I've been looking forward to for a long time.
I mean, it's right in your backyard, right? So it's definitely taking a bigger meaning for you. Austin Harris is going to take just as big of a meaningful kind of event from this one because, hey, yes, there's only 11 cars, but being able to say you beat the guy who's won the first 7 poles here, went 100% up until you showed up for your second race of the year, I mean, that's got to mean something. This is Harris's second open wheel pole position in PRL. It's his first since they went Formula 3 racing in 2023 season 2. So almost a year. He got a pole position there, but this is, you know, a Formula 4 car, Formula D series, so it's lower powered, not as high when it comes to aerodynamic dependency. So it's his first in this series. Look at how hot it is. Goodness me, the walls are going to be chomping for some front wings.
Oh, they are indeed. 80 Fahrenheit for those of you living in Celsius land. That's 45 degrees. So it's a very warm track out there. At the moment, it's about 12:30 in sim time. And, well, I think there's going to be a lot to think about when it comes to you know, the front tires. I think in particular, fronts are very important here at Mount Panorama as the drivers are loading onto the grid right now. We've got to take care through the opening laps. The tires obviously start quite cold. They will get up to temperature very quickly as you come across the top of the mountain through the flat out left-handers. But as the revs get ready to rise, we'll put all of that aside and start calling the racing action. PRL Formula D is go at Mount Panorama, and it's a good start from Vasconcelos. He's going to try and draw alongside Harris on the way into Hell Corner. The first turn of the lap, Harris a bit narrow and a little oversteer, but he manages to get a better exit than everyone behind him. It's a clean start from the whole field. But now we come up to Griffin's Bend, the second turn of the lap, where you don't want to be side by side. There's a huge crown in the road. You need to be on the inside if you want to get through this corner quickly. And the top 4 already compressed very close together, slightly wide for Vasconcelos. There's the crown in the road having its effect. Justin Delano fancying a go at second.
Now what's going to happen before we go up the mountain right here is everyone was able to get compressed because they're in the slipstream, right? Really solid job from Austin Harris to scoot away from Vasconcelos, but Jake Vasconcelos had quite a handle on trying to deal with Delano and McPherson. He's starting to scoot away a little bit for himself right now up the mountain.
He is indeed. It's very close for third. Delano trying to keep McPherson behind as they go through McPhillamy Park and across to Skyline. Stay off the curb on the exit and be careful not to hit the curbs too hard. Here coming down the S's, slide over, steer there for Harris, and he's collected Vasconcelos. He has collected Delano as well.
The top 3. Oh, and they're still wrecking.
It's over. Oh, man. Vasconcelos. It looks like McPherson rolled there. Oh, no. So Austin Harris and Kevin McPherson are now out of the race. Vasconcelos with huge damage to the front of his car. We are going to have a different winner here. Vasconcelos will not continue his run of victories at the mountain.
Oh my goodness. All it took was for a huge mistake from Austin Harris, and it just all kind of came together. The accordion effect. And that's what happens, right? You go down that mountain and there's just nowhere to escape, nowhere to run, and you saw the top 3 got majorly involved, and then you kept sliding down the mountain and a car flipped.
Yeah. Oh, that's so big. Justin Delano going for the pits. He's going to repair the damage that he took running into Austin Harris there. Very unfortunate, you know, the S's on the first lap on cold tires, they're always difficult to negotiate.
I mean, 4 drivers in the pits. Will Vasconcelos come into the pits? You have to think, yeah. So 5 drivers. Here's a replay. Harris, kind of fine, but
clipped the wall.
Yeah, I don't know if he necessarily clipped the wall on the right, but he turned in too early and tried to overcorrect, as here's the battle for 4th on up and or 4th on back, I should say. These drivers are together, and we only have 7 drivers still in this race right now.
Yeah, well, the mountain giveth and the mountain taketh away, as we like to say down here in Aussie land. This is the view on board from McPherson. Already his teammate having trouble, and he tried to find a way through, but I think there was just no steering for Vasconcelos.
Yeah, you can't really blame Vasconcelos right there either, as the move has attempted to be made. This is a dangerous place to want to go side by side, by the way, as we go Skyline. But you're absolutely right here. Here's a replay from Jake Vasconcelos.
Oh, yeah. Front left completely gone. He was trying to turn, but it just wasn't working. So unfortunately, the YS Motorsports cars, both with massive issues as a result of that. McPherson, I think, won't be coming back onto the racetrack. There's just too much damage. But Vasconcelos is trying to get that damage repaired. He's going to try and get some points out of this. But we'll keep our eye here on Duhamel and Peterson. Yep, the teammates at Viking Hot Rod Racing switching positions coming into the chase. The Viking Hot Rods cars are running second, third, and fourth right now. This is a fantastic points opportunity for the team.
Yeah, it's a tremendous opportunity, but at the same time, you know, they're 142 points back of P1. That's not going to happen as James O'Brien sets the fastest lap. Whoa. Side by side, Yurt and Conklin. Somehow they made it stick.
They did indeed. Conklin going a little bit deep into Murray's corner, and I alluded to it before qualifying ended. The first and last corners on this track, they look incredibly simple from the air. They're just right angle left-handers, 90 degrees, just turn in and away you go, right? No, it's definitely not a sequence of turns that's easy to do. You can easily clip the curb in Murray's. There's no proper line through Hell Corner, and you got an entire straight to think about what you did as you exit the corner. But back up onto the mountain once more. This is where single file running starts to become the norm. Conklin unable to keep up with Yurt on the way out of the cutting and up to Reed and Sulman Park.
Well, if you survive this race, as McPherson has officially left the car, then you're going to get a fair shot at a top 5 finish here. Wow. Just
looks like Vasconcelos has retired too.
Yep. That's it's quite incredible how a simple mistake up front led to 5 drivers kind of having a mistake. Look at that. Yurt.
Yeah, he's having some difficulties through the dipper, isn't he? It's a shame. Our front runners are all out, and it happened at lap 1, but big save. We're hearing from our producer as I think we're getting a replay queued up here. This is, I believe, Zach Yurt making his way down through the S's. Oh, my goodness.
I mean, it looked like from that angle he was heading straight for an early retirement as well. Look at this.
Oh, yeah. The car just wiggled coming down off Skyline. Good on him to keep it out of the wall. That's very difficult to do. Almost every time I've seen someone lose it through there, they have ended up in the wall or they've caused a big crash. So big shout out to Zach Yurt for keeping the car under control there. Of course, not under much pressure from CJ Conklin, so he did have time to think about gathering it up, but anything can change in the blink of an eye at Mount Panorama. Errol Urexoy, meanwhile, returning to the race. He was involved in some of the shenanigans on lap 1, and he will make his way back out onto the circuit, but I'm not sure if that's him warming up the tires or if the car is still a little wonky.
Yeah, not sure. However...
Oh, it's wonky.
Oh,
my
wow.
goodness. Oh,
right.
no.
Well, you know, it's kind of funny. If it's the opposite way, I'd say, how do we get a stock car onto this circuit? Because, you know, NASCAR stock cars are, when it's a left turn, the car is set up to always be turning left if you're keeping your wheel straight. So you kind of have to move the wheel to the right a bit on a straightaway so you're not turning left.
Well, Dave Peterson, meanwhile, bit of an issue for him up at the cutting. That's a lock up on the way into the corner. And that's another one of those turns where you want to get to the inside as soon as you possibly can. He does manage to hold on to it, though. Peterson running in second.
It's not necessarily a bad thing, though, Reese. If you're going uphill to try and slow it down, you're going to have a little bit of help from gravity of getting that car slowed down more than if, say, you're heading down, you know, through the dipper, through Skyline and all that. You can't really slow the car down as much as you would be able to into the cutting.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, every single turn here is different. There's a lot of elevation change involved around Mount Panorama, and sometimes you have to use the elevation changes of the track to get your line in, especially across the top of the mountain. So another lap completed for James O'Brien, 2-minute 10.8 there on lap 4. And, well, I would expect that if our top 3 was still in the running, they would have been able to get into the 209s by the time we were at the midpoint of the race. But this is what we have to deal with at the moment. Very big gaps between everyone right now. And I think it's just going to come down to who can make the least mistakes.
Yeah, 100%. And James O'Brien, you know, he's a prolific Cup Series driver in PRL competition for private label Team Hype. He's gotten 18 wins on Sundays in his PRL career, but he's never won in a discipline outside of a stock car of Cup Series racing. So, I mean, he's en route to potentially getting the easiest win. I would say not easiest because it's still Bathurst, right? You still got to deal with these corners at a relatively fast pace. And, well, at the end of the day, though, it's pretty much him against the track, separating him from his first victory. As you see that sliding through there is Donald Olson.
Yeah, big old slide for Olson through McPhillamy Park. Down through the S's once more. This corner here, the dipper, is another one of the turns where you can certainly have big issues. You see that the cars actually get a little airborne as they turn in for it. There's a compression on the exit that allows you to gain your grip back, but if you get your trajectory slightly wrong on the way into that turn, then you are going to slide. Conrod Straight is where you can pick up a slipstream, but you can see it visually. There's just too much space between the cars for anyone to really have a run into the chase.
Oh boy. You know, it is fun for our producer, Justin Olives. He gets to kind of show his creative juices with these camera angles. That was a jump scare of some sort.
I got a little frightened there.
I usually get frightened when I see any cars going up or down the hill at Bathurst, because that means that there's potential for calamity. You saw that.
Oh, yes. Oh, dearie me. The number 84 coming into turn 1 at the moment. I'll tell you a place I get frightened is whenever I come over the rise here on Mountain Straight and I'm behind the wheel, because I got Griffin's Bend coming up, and that sets up the rest of the lap. Justin Delano making his way out of the lane. That's another one of the cars that was involved in the lap 1 incident.
Oh, yeah. Come on. Is it bad? It's a little...
Tiny bit of left hand down.
Yeah, a little bit, a little bit.
I think the car's driving okay, at least from what I've seen there.
It didn't have to turn yet.
No, it didn't.
David.
Sorry, I'll let you finish your sentence.
No, it's okay. I said that's where we're going to see if the car's broken or not. It's just one of those races, Reese.
It is. Well, there's a race for 6th here with David Hebert making his way up to CJ Conklin. Remember, Conklin, the last driver to set a qualifying time, and Hebert, meanwhile, did not set a time in qualifying, but his practice pace wasn't too bad. I mean, a 2-minute 12, that's quite off the pace of the front runners, but considering how he's been going so far, he's just been nice and gentle. He's been making sure that he's keeping it straight and out of the walls, and it is paying off for him. 5 positions gained as we have 4 cars retired from this race. Justin Delano, of course, making his way back out onto the circuit, as well as Errol Urexoy. We are back up to 9 cars out on track, but Urexoy and Delano, they are 4 minutes and 9 minutes behind our race leader, respectively, as O'Brien crosses the line once more, sets another fastest lap, 2 minute 10.7. His lead is out to 8.3 seconds on my timing, 7.9 on the broadcast timing. So I think what he can do is just back off a little bit and bring this home. At least that's the approach I would take, but we all remember Senna at Monaco. He was asked to slow down, and that was when he crashed.
I mean, after all, they are racing drivers, correct? One of the things that is always mentioned when it comes to super speedway racing in NASCAR competition is work with your teammates. But when it comes down to it, you're still going to try and do what it takes to win the race for yourself. So if you see a gap, sometimes that means you're going to go for that gap without helping your teammates, because after all, they are race drivers.
That is exactly right. If you no longer go for a gap that exists, unfortunately, with Bathurst, there's not much of a gap between the racetrack and the wall in this section. So you have to dial it back through this section if you want to survive.
Yeah, and I think that's definitely the play that O'Brien wants to go for. I know we were just talking about the battle going on for 6th between CJ Conklin and David Hebert, and it's one of those situations where Conklin and Hebert, you know, they're the only drivers still in the lead lap who have not gotten a best time in the 2:11 range, the 2 minute 11 second range, and Conklin's last lap was over half a second better than any lap previously. Predicted to do 17 laps at Bathurst around the mountain, so not too many times to get used to each corner, but it's definitely been a good run up and now down the mountain for Hebert against Conklin.
Yeah, certainly has. Hebert, I think, with a couple of technical issues down the straight, he blinked for me a little bit. He's got Justin Delano coming up behind him now. Remember, Delano started in 3rd, and he's currently 4 laps down, but the pace difference is still there. Delano, of course, dealing with a little bit of a wonky car, but he does seem to have a good amount of pace over these guys. Question is, when can he clear them? He needs to be careful. Little bit of a mistake there for David Hebert, and so at the very least, Delano will get his lap back on the number 16. Or will he? Fighting into Hell Corner. Slightly better exit. And now, I mean, this isn't a battle for position, but this is where it'll definitely be demonstrated the difference in Griffin's Bend. Huge crown in the road. Of course, Hebert recognizes that there's a bit more pace there for Justin Delano and lets him go. This track is a public road for most of the year. It's certainly an interesting track, one of the ones that stand out in the modern racing scene. But it being a public road, you deal with a lot of the things that a street circuit driver would have to deal with. Crowns in the road, grip isn't always there when you need it, and the road surface isn't always the best maintained.
What I find so interesting about a track such as Mount Panorama is that it's not, even though it's a street circuit, it's not your typical street circuit where it's flat, it's in a city. It's truly one that works with the terrain that it's around. And I'm going to say something a little bit controversial about an upcoming street circuit track, but the new one in Madrid, I believe, that Formula One is creating, I think it looks fairly interesting with a lot of variations in, you know, in how that track height is and, you know, the hills and the valleys that are going to be on display there. Yet to see how it races, obviously, but I think it'll be interesting to see. I think it's got more character than most have in recent years.
Yeah, we will have to wait and see as Delano makes his way past Conklin into the chase. Have you heard the apocryphal tale of how Mount Panorama was conceived?
I have not. Please do tell,
Okay.
and I'll have my milk and cookies ready to go.
All right, well, considering there's not many battles going out on track apart from this one between Donald Olson and Zachary Yurt, I'll bring this one out of the mental notebook. Of course, like a lot of creation myths, it is shrouded in mystery, and it's not entirely clear how true it is, but it's still a fun story to tell. So motor racing had been going on in the Bathurst region since basically the 1910s, and they were using public road circuits at the time. And the mayor of Bathurst, Martin Griffin, for whom Griffin's Bend is named, decided, okay, we're going to build a permanent racetrack here, and it's going to be one of the best racetracks in the world. And so they drew up plans. Unfortunately, it had just hit the 1930s, and the Great Depression was in full swing. And so the New South Wales state government said, no, we're not going to commit money to be building a racetrack in hard economic times like this. So the Bathurst Council allegedly got together and came back with the idea of building a scenic drive up in the Bald Hills. Create jobs, give some work to do for people, and bring tourism to the Bathurst region and help out the local economy. Now, the state government really liked that, and they gave them the money to build the Mount Panorama Scenic Drive. And apparently, as the road was being built, a couple of people just leaned into each other's ears and said, you know what, this scenic drive we're building, it'll make a pretty good racetrack.
And now we're racing with 7 Formula D cars on the lead lap here. Another 90 years later or so.
We are indeed. Yeah. Oh, man. The history of Mount Panorama is simply fantastic. Yeah, I could go on for hours about it. The chase here, I mentioned, was added in 1987. It's become one of the best spots for overtaking on the track, but here we go into the pits.
Come on.
We had a battle forming, and then the drivers decided, nah, we're just we're going to jump out here and get our cars fueled up. Of
your stories, though.
Well, the creation myth is really the only one I have, but I can say that the chase was added when the 1987 Bathurst 1000 came around. It was a round of the World Touring Car Championship. The FIA looked at Conrod Straight, which used to be a complete straight all the way from Forest Elbow to Murray's Corner, and said, well, hang on a minute, it's a little bit too long. We're not going to sanction a race here unless the straight's broken up by a chicane. And so Mount Panorama said, okay, we're going to build the most wild chicane that's ever been built.
It's such a high-speed technical chicane, too, and oftentimes you'll have to just back out of it if you're in a high-powered vehicle already going downhill coming out of Forest Elbow. And here we go. Watch this little jump that's about to happen once they hit... we're a little bit past or before Skyline. I'm very excited to see how these cars handle with dirty air, even though there is very little aerodynamic dependency.
Yeah. Across the top of the mountain, these corners are flat out in a Formula D car, but they are high enough speed that you really need to take care when you're following behind someone. This isn't like a normal racetrack where you have some space on the exits of the corners. McPhillamy Park does have a gravel trap, though it didn't used to. There used to be just a straight up earth bank on the outside of the corner in the early days, but yeah, you do need to take very good care across the top of the mountain. The concrete walls will bite you if you're even a millimeter offline.
Well, I've got my own Bathurst story, and it has to do with a 3-time winner of the Bathurst 1000, 1-time Bathurst 12-hour winner, Shane Van Gisbergen.
Yes.
Because Shane races for the team I do PR for. NASCAR competition, College Racing, as this battle is going into the pits, so we'll see who wins it with the faster fuel stop here. Good look at this chicane on entry. Closed up a little bit, did he not?
Yeah, I think Conklin got on the pit limiter a bit early there. And so Hubert, I think, probably a bit frustrated, unnecessarily losing time because, you know, you see people usually taking that pit entry a lot faster. Zach Yurt, meanwhile, completing his pit stop. That just leaves our top two of James O'Brien and Dave Peterson yet to take a visit to the lane. And pit stop times are looking, you know, round about what we'd expect, around the 4.5 to 5 second range. But David Hubert only stopped for 3.6 seconds. That's a bit of an outlier there. Wondering if he'll have enough fuel to finish.
Looks like,
okay.
Yeah, it was what our producer Dustin just said, that he's been tracking him at 5 seconds, so it looks good. Might have just been a blinking internet thing. You know how it works when we're trying to race over thousands upon thousands of miles. And I mean, Reese, it's 9 p.m. Eastern time, my time. And what is it for you?
It is 10:09 a.m. for me in Perth, Western Australia. You did refer to...
Oh, no!
Okay. Oh, right. Errol Urexoy trying to make his way past David Hubert here. Remember, Urexoy's still 2 laps down on the leaders, so that's a bit of an interesting place to attempt a move. Yeah, you mentioned earlier in the broadcast that Bathurst is my backyard. Well, I suppose it is in a sense. It is my sim racing backyard, but I'm about 3,500 kilometers and a 4-hour plane ride away from this particular racetrack as our leader finally makes his way into the lane. And that is a better pit entry from Dave Peterson, but still on the pit limiter a little too early.
Yeah, basically like me saying Phoenix Raceway is my backyard when it is certainly not in my backyard. It's quite a long... Is that a car through the grass right there?
I mean, very slow is the Viking Hot Rods car there, so I would expect potentially. We will have to see. Peterson has completed his pit stop, meanwhile, emerges onto the racetrack well ahead of his 2 teammates here. Donald Olsen and Sean Duhamel going to be trying to keep Zach Yurt down off the lead lap. Looks like Duhamel did catch the grass a little on the exit of the chase, but it wasn't enough to put him in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, did not even get an off track right there. Is this
really
battle for third?
That's interesting, because he was completely off the track.
That's what I thought too. I guess, hey, there's track limits don't exist at Bathurst because most of it you just go into a wall, right?
Yeah.
So I might as well give some leeway when there are. I mean, it should have been off track, but.
Apparently, ATVO says no. Yeah. Dustin says that's his line through there. Yeah, don't worry, it's my line through there a few times a race as well. Well, the fight for third is closed up a bit.
At least there is this. Please do not wreck.
Ooh, little bit of a wiggle for Donald Olsen on the way into the dipper. But it's all about the exit of Forest Elbow. If you can put down the power nicely here and not pull a Dick Johnson and hit the outside wall, you will have some fantastic runnings. Both live here. Looks like quite the battle happening between CJ Conklin and David Hubert. They still have Errol Urexoy behind them. This is interesting. We've got 2 battles on screen at the same time. 2 cars fighting for position and 1 car behind them off the lead lap with a lot of extra pace. There's probably a lot of frustration going through Errol Urexoy and Zach Yurt's minds right now. Actually, hang on a minute. Yurt is for position. My apologies. He's trying, coming into Murray's corner, but Donald Olsen does not let him through. It's wide on the exit for Sean Duhamel. There is no issue getting it back up to speed, but more speed for Donald Olsen and Zach Yurt, who goes up the inside. The Viking Hot Rods cars almost come together, and Yurt makes up the position.
Donald Olsen locked up the tires heading into Hell Corner. That's going to hurt him on this run up the mountain straight into Griffin's Bend. The 84 machine of Yurt, though, he is on the move, trying to catch up to Sean Duhamel. but just 7.5 minutes to go. Pretty much 4 laps left to make it happen. Oh, way wide was Olsen. Almost got into that wall. And I was going to say earlier, Griffin's Bend, it is one of the most tricky, challenging corners, and you don't necessarily think of it as tricky and challenging, but you just don't really have a good movement there.
Ooh, and I thought for a second David Hebert would be forced to take the outside, but CJ Conklin just decided to let him go on the way into the corner so they could both have the inside line. Yeah, if you're on the left coming into that corner, then the only place you're going is the wall or down a few positions as you try to gather it up. It's a very high-speed turn is Griffin's Bend. You have to stick to the inside to get the speed through it. Here's what happened. A little bit wide on entry, and you see how much he's fighting with the car there? That's offline. There's no grip out there.
Lots of marbles and things that are just going to almost make turning impossible, even if you have the wheel to the right, even if you're slowing down as much as possible. Huge run for Duhamel, or for Yurt.
Yep, very big run down Conrad. This is the biggest slipstreaming opportunity on the entire lap, and he is ahead when they get to the turn-in point of the chase. Will Duhamel fight this? He's on the racing line, but a little bit later on the brakes is Zach Yurt, and he manages to gather it up and avoid going into the grass. So that is move completed, and Zach is back up into 3rd spot. Excellent stuff.
Yeah, that was awesome to see. This battle for 6 between Hebert and Conklin, it still rages on into the chase, and they almost went side by side. I mean, I gotta say, for 7 cars in the lead lap, having 2 battles with 5 cars total is pretty excellent.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting this after the lap 1 shenanigans. We have 2 separate battles on track, and it's certainly looking good in these last 5 or so minutes of the race. Conklin, it seems, does not quite have the edge in terms of outright pace when things go perfectly for Hebert, but you see, once he's got someone to chase, CJ is lining him up, and he's still within slipstream range here. Coming up Mountain Straight. Look at the run that he's getting. Problem is, if he wants to make his way past, he has to get it done by the cutting. Otherwise, they'll be stuck single file until they get to Conrad.
Yeah, that is a massive problem. However, if he wants to go side by side, in any sense of the word, it's not like it would slow him down from anybody up front, right? He just wants to make this move. He cut in way too deep and hit the wall on the outside there. That might hurt his car.
Yeah, it might. These FIA F4 cars can take a bit of a beating when you're just tapping walls here and there, but you're losing a lot of pace if that happens on the exit of the cutting, because you're flat out all the way until the S's in these cars. So he's going to have to wait. He's going to have to nail his lines, his apexes, and hope that Hebert makes a mistake, but he's the one who's going to make a mistake. Into the wall for CJ Conklin, and now he has to make a 4 or 5 point turn to get going. Oh no, looks like it was a 3-point turn in the end.
Almost turned into Austin Powers, but at the end of the day, only 3 turns were needed to get him going straight again, but that's that for that battle. And now it looks like the only real thing we've got on track, Yurt's starting to skirt away. You like that? From Sean Duhamel. And that 1 second advantage between Olsen and Duhamel. We'll get a replay here of that mistake that happened for CJ. And
just a little bit offline coming into the S's, and it's another one of those parts of the circuit where you have to be on the racing line, otherwise there's no grip, and you get the rear end unsettled, it'll just go on you. So unfortunate there for CJ. Looks like the battle for 6th is over, but we keep our eye on the number 84 of Zach Yurt as he tries to chase down Dave Peterson, but it's a 10-second gap between the two of them. So I think, 3 minutes to go. That's 2 laps around here. There's not going to be much of a race for 3rd spot. Really what Yurt has to focus on is keeping Sean Duhamel behind him.
Yeah, and it looks like Justin Delano also unlapped himself. He's still 1 lap down on Urexoy. I don't know if he's on that 2 laps down or 1 lap down to the leader. I think 2 laps down to the leader.
It'd be 2
James
laps,
O'Brien. Yeah. So that's good for him and good to at least make something of this 35-minute race in this night. You can definitely tell James O'Brien let off the throttle a little bit each lap. Dave Peterson has probably gained a 10.5 every single lap since O'Brien stretched it out to over 8 seconds, which, yeah, might as well. You got the gap, you got the advantage. Don't push it. Don't put the car into the wall. And he's about to take the white flag here.
Certainly is. Lap times in the 2-minute 10-second range. If you're up the front, Delano with a big slide out of Murray's corner there as James O'Brien does indeed take the white flag with 1:39 on the clock. Now, remember that the start-finish line is actually the first line that you get to coming out of Murray's corner. It's not where Barney is actually sitting. Of course, I believe that's a consequence of the Bathurst 1000, the start-finish line, or sorry, the start line and the finish line, about 200 meters apart. This track is 6.213 kilometers long.
Was that just the car up ahead? You saw some smoke?
Potentially a lockup.
Maybe. If I'm O'Brien, I back off big time here. No reason to come to the scene of a crime.
No, certainly not. Got to have your eyes on stalks around Mount Panorama. There's no telling what will be waiting for you around the next bend. It's a lot like the Nürburgring in that fashion. You don't have much warning if there's someone stopped on track ahead of you. You've got to be listening to your spotter calls. You've got to just be ready at any time to take avoiding action, get on the brakes a little bit more. He has the advantage. The gap was 6.7 seconds at the line when O'Brien began the final lap. So if he has to take avoiding action, then it's not going to harm him at all. Doesn't matter by how much you win. It's all that matters is you get the points. Down Conrod Straight for the final time on this final lap. Stick to the left side of the circuit. Once again, a big crown in the road coming down Conrod Straight where you see people's driveways. There are people who have properties that back onto the circuit. There's a winery on Mountain Straight as well. You can get one of them at an Airbnb for the 1000 or the 12-hour. But last corner for James O'Brien. Nails Murray's corner and will take the win in PRL Formula D here at Bathurst. Fantastic drive, kept it clean where it mattered, avoided the incidents, unlike our top 3. Peterson, meanwhile, across the line in second place, and he takes straight to the runoff area at turn 1. I think he's well and truly done with this.
Duhamel and Olsen, they're side by side here, and I think the 4-1-3.
Photo finish?
I wonder if it had something to do with the teamwork aspect there.
Yeah, potentially.
Maybe.
Looks to me like they were they were doing a photo finish.
Yeah.
Because keep an eye on Duhamel here. He avoids getting on the throttle too much out of Murray's corner and then on the brakes for Donald Olsen. So looks like they were just getting a nice team photo for Viking Hot Rod Racing.
Was it me, or was there the pass happening right after the line? Hopefully it's all good. Of course, Barney is way ahead and way back over the hill of where that start-finish line is. As Delano still has to keep moving here. What an odd race. I thought you were going to say, Airbnb here, but it's time for James O.B. to get his first win.
Yeah, that's a missed opportunity. The caffeine still hasn't kicked in. Oh, well, next time. Well, let's go through the results then. James O'Brien taking the win by 7.3 seconds over Dave Peterson. Zach Yurt finishes in third spot. We got 3 Viking Hot Rods cars in the top 5 with Duhamel and Olsen rounding that out. David Hebert finishes 45 seconds behind the leader. And then you got to go back another 20 seconds to CJ Conklin. And that was the last finisher on the lead lap. Errol Urexoy 2 laps down. Delano finishes 3 laps down. And unfortunately, we have 4 retirements here. Actually 3. Jason Aaronsberg did not take to the start. Austin Harris, Jake Vasconcelos, and Kevin McPherson all unfortunately out on the first lap of the race. It's a big shame for them, but it shouldn't harm Vasconcelos too much. He's way too far in the lead for any kind of pressure to be put on him by anyone else. And that will bring us into post-race with James O'Brien, the winner of the race, and joining us in the commentary booth now. Congratulations, James, winning at the mountain. It's a great honor. It was all about survival, really.
Yeah, that was my goal when coming into this race in next week. I hate that it happened like the first lap. There's not much going on after that, but sometimes you don't have to be the fastest to win. I knew something was going to happen. It's just a matter of not letting it happen to me. So after that happened, I kind of just paced myself and I didn't really push the whole race, and I just kind of, don't want to say chill, but I try to stay consistent the whole race and not make any mistakes.
Yeah, very true. It's such a difficult circuit as Mount Panorama, and you know, the concrete walls, the high speeds across the top of the mountain. I suppose for you, it was just a case of measuring your pace and making sure that you didn't make those mistakes.
Yeah, I kind of try to keep the gap consistent to David behind me, and sometimes it would stretch out, sometimes it would condense, and I could push. I had pace in hand if I needed it. I just wasn't using it. But yeah, it was just a matter of getting up the hill and getting down the hill and letting Hell Corner and Conrad Straight and the chase kind of do its own thing.
Well, some successes for you in Formula D this season. Of course, it's recently been announced that PRL is going to be running a Super Formula Championship. Are we expecting you to compete in that too?
No, my main focus is in NASCAR. Of course, I do this for fun. I think I'm going to still try to do this just since it's free and this car is just so much fun to drive. It really deserves more attention. But I'm going to, I think, shift my focus to GT4. I'm trying to grow more as a road racer. They're 2 different disciplines, but I've always been a fan of closed wheel sports car racing. So I think I'm going to try to migrate to that as well.
All right, so there's a hint for James O'Brien's future plans there at private label Team Hype. Thanks very much for joining us, James, and congratulations on taking the dub at the Mount.
Thank you.
Well, number 33 heads back on into the waiting for interview booth, and it looks to me like that's the only driver interview we're going to get, Dylan. I think everyone's tired out after a very difficult race.
Yes, and James O'Brien, this is a pretty cool statistic. He's become the 4th NASCAR Series driver in Precision Racing League to also win a open wheel race. The others, Abner Acosta, Daniel Zagers, as well as Kyle Steichers. All of them have 1 win. Now James O'Brien becomes the 4th to win both in the stock car competition and in open wheel competition in PRL history. All of them with just 1.
Well, that's a very interesting stat right there. Well, we will see if James O'Brien can back that up at the Nürburgring Grand Prix circuit next week, the season finale of PRL Formula D for 2024 Season 1. Pencil that date and time into your calendars if you want to catch that. And then we'll be able to officially crown Jake Vasconcelos as the champion. He didn't get to the finish this time, but enough of a points lead that it should be a formality for him to be crowned the champion in Germany next week. Thanks very much, everybody, for joining us across the world here on RaceSpotTV. Once again, I'm Reese Gardner, Dylan Coyle with me in the comms box. Dustin Ollis is the one bringing you all these live pictures and clicking all the buttons for the overlays. Big thanks to Precision Racing League for putting this series on in the first place, and of course to all the sponsors that we thanked at the top of the broadcast for helping to make all of that happen. We'll see you next week at the Nürburgring.